Good morning, guys. It's been a while since I uploaded to this channel, so I feel like an update is due. As a matter of fact, it's been a while since I uploaded to any of my channels. The last video I uploaded on the Molly Mish channel was us leaving Huar Island, starting to make our way west, and we made it all the way west. Pretty much as far west as we're going to be. We are on the coast of Portugal, on the Atlantic coast of Portugal. We are actually all the way up in the northern end of the Atlantic coast of Portugal. We are, I want to say like maybe just 5 miles from the Spanish border. We've been here for just about 2 weeks now. Today, I believe, is the 27th. We came into Portugal on the 13th. So, yeah, 2 weeks exactly. And we're leaving today. We're going to be headed back into Spain. When we left Croatia, we spent maybe a week, maybe a little longer than a week, just slowly making our way north up the coast, and eventually made it into Slovenia. We only spent a couple days in Slovenia, which is actually the longest we've stayed in Slovenia up until about a month and a half ago, or about a month ago, up until about a month ago. We've only ever driven through Slovenia, but we stayed, went to a cave. It was pretty cool. All these videos I've shot, I have to edit them, and they'll be up on the Molly Mish channel. Hopefully soon, but we've not stayed more than a night anywhere since then, except for the last spot we were at. So it's been constant motion, and for a good while we were driving pretty far distances, like across the south of France and then all the way across Spain. I mean, we'll cover that entire segment of our drive in probably a week. Maybe like 5 days, 2-3 days to get through France, and then 3 days, 2-3 days to get through Spain. And we made it all the way down to the bottom of Portugal in the Algarve, and slow down there, but just a little bit. Like I said earlier, since then, we've been moving every day, almost every day except for one place. So we stayed at 13 places in these last 14 days. Starting from the Algarve all the way out to Chagrash, and then making our way up the Atlantic coast. Stayed almost always within earshot of the ocean. And that's where we are now. Check this out. You guys hear that? It's really nice to sleep to the sound of the waves. It reminds us so much of Northern California, Southern Oregon. These are good sized waves. I think it's high tide going down right now. So water is pretty rough. And there's all these rocks right here. So there are rocks just beneath the surface of this spot. But I've been checking out this break. If we weren't in such a hurry to leave, if we're staying here for a couple more days, I think I will find a good time to go out and try to surf this. But it is pretty rough, and there are rocks right there. So I don't see anybody surfing. But I know that this is a surfable wave. I can tell. Hopefully, we will get to a spot where the waves are slightly less treacherous because the kids want to surf. And we're going to do that. Today we're going to make our way, hopefully, into Spain and maybe to the northern coast of Spain. And it's a little bit more protected than this. This is just the open Atlantic. It goes all the way across to North America. But in the north of Spain, along that coast, there's a lot more protected coast because you know, you got the Bay of Biscay above, and you have basically the coastline of France above it. So whatever waves that come through kind of has to wrap around the corner, the northeast corner of Spain, and it gets a little bit more tame. So I think on a big swell, there's got to be some really clean, good spots for surfing. But this is just wild beach break. Looks like it could be fun, but a lot of work for somebody who's only surfed like, I don't know, 6 days, 7 days in the last 4 years. This is a big undertaking to surf here. So being that we only stayed here one night, I don't think it's gonna happen. As a matter of fact, we're packing up and getting ready to go. We have, from today is the 27th, we have 22 days before our flight out of Brussels. So a little more than 3 weeks. I think the goal is to spend a week or so driving along the northern coast of Spain, and then have 2 weeks to make our way through France. That'll give us some time to see some more stuff in France that we haven't seen yet. We'll be driving through the part of France that we haven't been to before. So by the end of those 2 weeks, we should have covered France pretty good. And I feel good about Portugal. We missed a lot of the inland stuff, but we got to the stuff that we really wanted to see. So I think we're all packed up, and I'll get this camera situated on the windshield, and we'll talk to you during the drive. All right, so this is our last stop in Portugal. We just stopped at this town right on the border, in the northern border, right across the river from Spain, and we're going to make a left turn here in about 3/4 mile, and then we'll be driving across the bridge over to Spain. 14 days. I think our internet, Portuguese internet, just stopped working, or either that or the internet's just not good here. But we bought 15 days worth of unlimited internet for 15 euros. So it's actually one of the better deals in all of Europe for unlimited internet. I don't know if any other place is comparable. Maybe Finland. I think maybe pay like 20 or 30 euros for a month-long unlimited internet in Finland, which is, pro tip, if you're going to the Nordics, get a Finnish SIM card and use the Finnish SIM card in Norway, because it works in Norway, and there are no good unlimited internet SIM cards for Norway in Norway. Anyways, that's our pro tip. But today we're leaving. We're leaving Portugal to go to Spain, and not sure exactly how long we'll spend in Spain, but what we do know is we have about 3 weeks to get to Brussels for us to fly out. But we got to be there a few days before to drop the car off at the port and deal with the logistics of shuffling all of our stuff, packing away stuff, getting the car ready for shipping, which we haven't done in almost 4 years, and trying to figure out exactly how we're going to get around. 4 years ago, when we were trying to do this, coming over here in Europe, we didn't have to deal with the pandemic. We also didn't have to deal with a Russian invasion of an Eastern European country.
Or two cats.
Or 2 cats. Or almost 2 teenagers. So this is all very new. This is all very new to us. But things are always new. Things are changing, and every day that goes by, something new happens. You just don't know what to expect. But what's allowed us to live this life is being flexible, able to adapt. So a lot of you guys have asked this on Instagram and Facebook and other social media networks about if we're safe, if we're able to be safe and asking us to be safe. So thank you guys for all that. And honestly, it doesn't feel any less safe here in Western Europe as any of you would be in the US. And as a matter of fact, Portugal is not a big, powerful country. It is part of the NATO organization, but it is not like on the radar of Vladimir Putin or China or any other autocratic dictator country for that matter. So we actually feel pretty safe here. And if something happens where we would feel unsafe in Portugal or Spain or France, I guess to a slightly lesser degree, it wouldn't be safe anywhere. I mean, that's the fact of the world stage today, is that when you have somebody like Russia making these really irrational, really unbelievable moves on the military stage, it's scary everywhere. But we are somewhat glad that we were able to do all of this traveling in Europe in the last 3.5+ years. So we don't feel like we're leaving Europe this next month unfulfilled. I don't feel like that I'm missing anything. In fact, quite the contrary, we felt like that if we stayed longer, we would be circling places that we've already been.
Yeah, or feeling like we're waiting, which is what we didn't want to do. Feel like we're waiting and wasting time.
Right.
Waiting for borders to open, which now for sure we're not driving through Russia.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, I don't think we publicly announced this to anybody, but we did talk to a few friends about it, is, during the first winter of the pandemic, when we first came back from Morocco, we were trying to decide what to do after Europe. When we first came to Europe, our thought was always we come and then we circle around and then we ship back, which is what we're doing now. But in 2020, in the winter or the spring of 2020, our thought was that we would go east. We would drive across Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and ship back across the Pacific from eastern Siberia, north of Japan on the Pacific coast that way. And had everything gone according to plan, we would be probably in eastern Ukraine right now. Because when we first tried to map out how this plan would go, is that you don't want to drive through Russia, Mongolia in any other time besides summer. And if you wanted to maximize your time through that part of the world, you want to leave as early as you can in the spring, so that by the time you get to Russia-Mongolia border, you're at the beginning of summer or maybe the end of spring. So had none of this happened, that's where we'll be right now. And we were, in fact, waiting around as the pandemic dragged on. We were, in fact, waiting around for things to kind of calm down, for borders to open, so that we could fulfill that plan. But it became pretty clear recently that that was going to be increasingly less likely. At first, it wasn't necessarily that Russia was provoking Ukraine. At first, it was more just that Russia wasn't opening its borders to vehicle traffic anytime soon. You could fly in up until recently. You can visit St. Petersburg on a cruise ship without a visa even. And you can fly into Russia, you can get a visa for a few months and fly into Russia and just explore Russia and fly out. But even that is not a possibility anymore. So it's been pretty clear, it's obvious to us now that we made the right choice to come back to North America. And it would have been really bad, in fact, had the border restrictions been lifted. Let's just say like Delta wave and Omicron wave didn't happen, borders got lifted, we decided to go up to Ukraine and started driving across Ukraine and have this suddenly happen on us while we were there. That would have been a pretty disastrous outcome. So in a strange way, these the Delta and Omicron break outbreak waves of the coronavirus pandemic maybe saved us from being in that part of the country. So that's where we are now, and there have been a couple of changes. Originally, we were supposed to ship on the 17th.
Yeah, we were supposed to drop off the van a few days beforehand, so we were thinking the 14th.
Right, at least 3 days, no more than 14 days before is when you can drop off your vehicle, shipping roll on, roll off. And we were gonna spend this time driving up and get to Zeebrugge on the 14th, drop it off, and then stay in a hotel or Airbnb or something for a week, and then try to get to Brussels for our flight, which is scheduled on the 21st. And
So that was a week. We padded a week. We thought that was good enough.
it was the perfect plan as far as I was concerned. And it gave us 10 days before Mila's passport expires at the end of the month, so that if there was like cancellations for the flights, we would be able to handle it. We have 10-day buffer to be able to deal with that. But because of these recent storms that Europe has had up north, I don't know if you guys saw, there were crazy 100-mile-an-hour winds in the UK, in Northern Europe. Our boat was delayed. Our boat was delayed by like 5 or 6 days. So now it's not going to get there till the 26th, which is not good for us. Actually, 9 days. It was delayed by 9 days. Supposed to go on the 17th. Now it won't go to the 26th. So it's a significant amount of delay. But for us, it poses a problem because now our perfectly timed plan has been thrown to disarray. Do we reschedule our flight? We have that 10-day buffer that we built in, but if we were to reschedule now so that we can drop the van off, at the latest will be the 23rd, then we pretty much have to try to get a flight within those couple of days. And we wouldn't be able to be in Europe to make sure that the Ro-Ro ship actually sailed out of port before we left. We'll have to leave the car here and we will fly away. We'll fly out of Europe while the car is still waiting to be brought aboard the ship. So if something happens where our car is unable to be put on the boat for whatever reason, you just never know, we won't be here.
You gotta pass the littlest car in the world here. It's
Yeah,
too
but there's
late.
cars coming and there's a biker.
Okay.
So we don't really know what to do. I think at some point we just have to take a chance and say, we're gonna have to leave the car in the port and fly away in the plane and hope that everything goes well. And I think that's the only thing we can do.
Yeah, I think that's. It sounds ridiculous, but it's less risk than dealing with an expired passport. If they don't extend this, you can fly on an expired passport because of COVID.
This
Right.
guy.
It's the littlest car. I don't even know what kind of car
Yeah,
that
they
is.
probably don't even, people behind me don't even know that car was in front of me.
Yeah, it's like a little clown car.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing. Because of coronavirus, they extended passport deadlines for children, right? It's for kids only.
No, it's for anybody's passport that expired in 2020.
Okay, if it expired in 2020 or 2020.
Yeah.
So they kept extending it, and they've extended it until the end of March, which is one of the kids' passports expired. And in order for us to get a renewed passport, it takes 7 weeks or something just to get an appointment. They're totally booked. And I think that's part of the reason why they're letting people come back to the US with expired passports. But you have to fit in this particular criteria. It has to have expired past 2020, and you have to come back to the US before a certain time. So
And flight
our
directly.
expire and flight directly.
Yeah, you can't just.
You
have
can't
it.
just go to Canada and then come in.
Yeah.
So our expired passport, the kids' expired passport happened to qualify. So that's what we're trying to do, and we can't wait. We can't wait around, especially when the car is going to go on a ship and it's going to go across. The car, we can leave before the car leaves, but we can't get there after the car arrives. because the car, once it gets to the port, we're required to pick it up within a certain amount of time, or there's crazy fees involved.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's where we stand right now. I just thought it's a pretty long-winded explanation of what's happening.
And why don't we know that one of our kids has an expired passport? Because we've been traveling as Croatians, and those Croatian passports are good for a while, and we just we're here longer in Europe than we thought, and we don't use our U.S. passports.
And when you have, kids that are this amount of age apart, every couple of years you got to renew a passport at some point.
And you can't just do it over, in the mail. You have to go in the office, show proof that they're your kid, get an appointment, wait longer because of COVID here. So it's a pain.
So we're trying to thread this needle. We're trying to thread this passport needle to get back into the U.S. I don't know what would happen. Maybe worst case scenario, we fly to Canada on our Croatian passports, on their Croatian passports, and then try to do a passport renewal in Canada.
Yeah, because it's illegal
wait there.
to fly into the U.S. with another passport if you are a U.S. citizen.
Right.
Is what we found out. So we're like, oh, we can just fly Mila in as a Croatian. Like, no.
No, I don't know what they would do to you, though, at the border. Assuming they let you get on the plane on this side.
Yeah.
What would they do to you when you got to the U.S. and you're like, oh, my passport's expired, but I have this passport? Will they say, no, you got to go back to Croatia? I have no idea. They might say that, actually. So obviously we don't want that. Yeah. Even renouncing, I've looked into this when I was doing research about like dual citizenship and stuff like that. Because some countries, in order for me to get Croatian citizenship, they require me to renounce my American citizenship. Sort of, it's kind of a gray area. But in order for you to renounce your American citizenship, you also have to make an appointment to go to the embassy. And that appointment hasn't happened to anybody for months, if not years. So, yeah, it's a crazy time right now to travel. So, we're trying to thread this needle. We're trying to get it all to happen at the right time. Meanwhile, juggling, having everything that we own in this car, pack enough of it so that we can still move around when we drop the car off at the port, and still be mobile enough so we can ride public transit to and from an Airbnb, to the airport, to the train station, maybe just rent a car. I don't know. Even though we're coming up really close to the time to be able to get back to the U.S. And there's a lot of action ahead of us in the next 4 weeks, and there's still a lot of unknowns. So keeping our fingers crossed, and hope all goes well. That's it. Do you have anything else to add? Well, once again, thank you guys for your concern. We're totally safe. We're good. We're enjoying the coast of Portugal, and now we just enter back into Spain. And
did we miss a sign?
We may have.
Are we in Spain?
You may have missed a sign. I think we are in Spain. We're back in Spain now. Northern Spain. Anyways, peace. I'll see you guys in another video.